What's it like growing up as the youngest of 10 in a house where the living room doubled up as a wrestling ring? That's where Florian Wirtz learned to fight, to toughen up and to dream big. From those chaotic beginnings to breaking Bundesliga records and becoming a Liverpool player. His story is packed with drama, setbacks and spectacular comebacks. And if you'd like to listen to the full adventure, it's available right now on Patreon and on Apple Podcast subscription only. Welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees, and welcome to another brand new episode. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a player who you can't miss, no matter what seat you're sat in at Stamford Bridge or whatever seat you're sat in watching the TV at home, because he's got big fuzzy hair and he plays on the wing and he scores and he assists, he's calm, he's got no ego, and he goes by the name of Cucurella. Marc Cucurella, in fact. That is our episode today. Before we get into that episode on Marc Cucurella, I've got a shout out to do. And that shout out is this one. He says, "Hi, my name is Hudson. I am 7 years old and I love your episodes. Can I please have a shout out to my football team? They are called Prime FC in Chiang Mai, Thailand." Well, Hudson, a huge shout out to you. Thank you very much for being a super listener firstly, and a massive shout out to every single person, including you of course, in Prime FC in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Always wonderful to know where all of you listeners are listening all around the world. There's about 120 countries listening, so the more the merrier. A big shout out to you, Hudson. Thanks very much once again for getting in contact. Right then. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's talk about the man with the long fuzzy hair, the man who lights up Stamford Bridge and is a Euros winner with Spain, the man who goes by the name of Cucurella. Marc Cucurella was born on the 22nd of July 1998 in Masia, Catalonia. As a boy, he played something called futsal in the village, a fast, frantic, five-a-side version of football, where the football never really seems to stop rolling. It's a quick game, it's about pace and tempo, and it suited Cucurella as a young boy very much so. His dad, Oscar, loved the game just as much, and he signed him up to the local team. You can picture the scene, can't you? Young Marc Cucurella with his mop of hair, scampering about, legs whirling around like a cartoon character, determined to win every single tackle. It was clear almost immediately that he had something special. By the time he was just 8 years old, Cucurella had joined the academy at RCD Espanyol. That was no small thing. Lots of children dream of playing for a club like that, but only a handful make it. But Marc, he wasn't finished there. In 2012, he was 14 and Barcelona, they came calling. And suddenly, he was stepping through the doors of La Masia, the most famous football school and academy in the whole world. This is where the likes of Lionel Messi grew up. This is a place which has created genuine geniuses. Off the pitch, Cucurella was known for being muy temido, which in Spanish translates to very shy. He was the kind of boy who would probably rather disappear into the wallpaper than stand at the front of the class. But give him a ball and he was transformed. Fierce, fiery, buzzing with energy, as if someone had pressed his turbo button. The coaches couldn't believe how much his personality flipped once the referee's whistle blew. Barcelona ended up promoting him to Barca B, the reserve team, and in late 2016 he made his senior debut there. Before long, he got the tiniest taste of the big stage. 7 glorious minutes with the Barcelona first team in a Copa del Rey match. And he was part of a 3-0 win. 7 minutes may not sound like much, but for Marc Cucurella, it was proof that dreams are possible. You've just got to put the work in. Yet, opportunities at Barcelona became scarce, and rather than sit around waiting on the bench forever, Cucurella took the brave decision to leave in search of an adventure and some proper playing time. Barcelona decided that it was time for 20-year-old Marc Cucurella to go out on loan, so off he went to SD Eibar, a tiny club in Spain's La Liga system, who play in a stadium so small you could practically shout your tapas order from one stand to the other. Eibar's coach, a man called Jose, didn't exactly roll out the red carpet for Cucurella though. He famously said this: Cucurella, he's not quick, he's not strong, you would not really sign him watching his football, but he's a footballer. Imagine being told that, or hearing that on your first day. Not quick, not strong, what's left? Cheers, coach. But the truth was, the coach had spotted something magical. The spark of Cucurella's footballing brain power, the sort of thing you can't measure with a stopwatch or a set of weights. And naturally, Cucurella was even more determined to prove his worth. And in September 2018, in only his second month for the club, he helped orchestrate one of the greatest days in Eibar's history. Their very first win over Real Madrid. Not only did the club win 3-0, but every single goal came from Cucurella's assist. For a young loanee from Barcelona, it was like walking into school on a Monday morning and discovering you're the most popular kid in the school and every single person loves you. And those words of that coach echoed around Cucurella's head. Not strong, not quick, not fast. Cucurella must have been saying to himself, have some of that. Well, if you're a super listener on Apple Podcast subscription or on Patreon, don't you worry, there will be no adverts for you. For everybody else, we'll be back after this quick ad break. At the end of his loan, Eibar was so impressed with Cucurella that they dipped into their bank and paid £2 million to make the move permanent. For a club their size, with a bank account their size, with the type of bank account they had and how much money they had in it, it was like buying a gold-plated tractor. A serious investment. But just as Cucurella was unpacking his suitcase in Eibar, Barcelona came knocking at the door again. This was only a few weeks later, and they exercised a €4 million buyback clause. And what did they do with their player? They sent him out on loan again. This time, poor old Cucurella was off to Getafe. It must have felt like a never-ending game of pass the parcel, except he was the parcel. At Getafe, under the stern eye of the coach Jose Bordalas, Cucurella's game toughened up. This was no place for ponies. Every tackle mattered, every header counted, every point could mean the difference between survival and disaster. Former Barcelona teammate Rodri Tarrant summed it up perfectly. Moving from Barcelona B to teams like Eibar and Getafe meant every point is vital for survival. The adversity is necessary to improve. And by the age of 22, Cucurella had already done some extraordinary things. He'd adapted no matter what the circumstances were, whether the coach was saying some pretty negative things or not, or how the stadium was reacting to him being on the pitch. He got on with it and he did what he did best. And so, in that blue corner of Madrid, Cucurella grew into a player who was not just skillful, but he was steely. A footballer with brains as well as bravery, and someone who would soon be ready to leap across the sea to England and take the Premier League by storm. And Marc Cucurella's great English adventure began on transfer deadline day in the year 2021. He packed up his boots, waved goodbye to Spain, shouted adios and signed a 5-year contract with Brighton and Hove Albion. The Premier League has got a habit though. It can chew up newcomers and spit them out, but not Cucurella. By the 4th round of matches, he was already a fixture in the starting 11, scampering up and down that left touchline with his trademark hair flying like a superhero's cape. Over the 2021-22 season, he played 35 Premier League games and started every single one of them. He even scored for Brighton in a 4-0 thrashing against Manchester United. The numbers which Cucurella was doing were staggering. He made 93 tackles in the league. Only 3 players had managed more. And there were plenty of magic moments which followed, like his home debut when he set up Danny Welbeck in an injury-time equaliser against Chelsea. It was a twist of fate, as he would soon be pulling on that very same Chelsea shirt. Cucurella was marvellous. The coaches couldn't stop talking about his versatility. He could play as a left back, a wing back, or even a left-sided centre back. This man from Spain, who you could see his hair from space, was making serious impressions. After just one dazzling season at Brighton, Marc Cucurella made the leap to Chelsea. And what a leap it was. Marc Cucurella pulled on that Chelsea shirt for the first time in a 1-0 win away against Everton. But London life wasn't always glitter and glory, especially at first. Cucurella had a bumpy opening season. He struggled for form and even endured boos from the crowd at Stamford Bridge, not the warmest of welcomes of a player of his price tag. But here's the thing about Cucurella. He doesn't sulk, ever. He doesn't give up, ever. He perseveres, and by March 2023, he was shining on the biggest stage, earning Champions League Player of the Match in a last 16 win over Borussia Dortmund. And by the end of the 2022-23 season, he had nailed down a regular spot in the team. Then, in March 2024, came a milestone moment. His very first Chelsea goal, scored in an FA Cup win at Leicester, under Mauricio Pochettino. He grew into a key figure, and by 2025 he had chalked up over 100 appearances in Chelsea's blue shirt. The coaches and directors couldn't stop talking about him. They were singing his praises from the very fancy boxes at Stamford Bridge. Off the pitch, Cucurella has become something of a team big brother. With so many Spanish-speaking players arriving at Chelsea at once, Cucurella set up a WhatsApp group to help them settle in, translating the chaos of London life into something friendlier and much more familiar. Cucurella is a key player for the club now and has done some wonderful things in England, but he's also been remarkable for his country. He's been playing for Spain since the age of 16, climbing through every youth level all the way to the senior side. He captained Spain's under-23s to Olympic silver at Tokyo 2020, which was held in 2021 because of that blasted pandemic. And he'd already wore the armband for the under-21s in the European Championship qualifiers, guiding them to the semi-finals of the Euros in 2021. Then came the most unusual debut you could ever imagine. In July 2021, when Spain's senior side had to isolate because of that blasted pandemic, the under-21s team was sent out to play Lithuania in a full international match. Cucurella not only played, he captained the team. Spain won 4-0 and he became the only player ever to captain Spain on their first senior cap. After this, he hovered on the edge of the senior squad for Spain, but after hitting form again at Chelsea, he was called up by the manager of Spain in 2024. He started Spain's first game at the UEFA Euro 2024 competition and never looked back. Holding his place all the way through to the final, Spain lifted the trophy and Cucurella had turned into a hero. Marc Cucurella's story is proof, but you don't need to be the tallest, the strongest, or even the fastest to make it to the very top. From futsal in a small Catalonian village to La Masia, where he learned the Barca way, to Eibar, where he was told he wasn't quick, he wasn't strong, and goodness knows what else, to orchestrating a famous win over Real Madrid. Cucurella has always found a way to shine. He's always kept his chin up, even when he was being passed around like a parcel. Espanyol to Barcelona, Barcelona to Eibar, Eibar back to Barcelona, then to Getafe, then to Brighton, and finally to Chelsea. But at every stop, he refused to be lost in the shuffle, and he was determined to shine on the pitch. So remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about the Football for Kids podcast. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly, or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.